So with SCLC, working with them, I went to Tanzania to meet with the IMF secretary. This was about 15 years ago. And what the country looked like then and what it looks like now, I'm talking about Tanzania, is a world of difference. The growth in Rwanda also went from a country that, you all know the movie Hotel Rwanda. Now the development is, I think they're number third or fourth per person GDP in all of Africa, which would put them behind Egypt, South Africa. Yeah, they're fourth because they're behind Egypt, South Africa, and Morocco. That's incredible distribution of power and wealth. So I'm saying we're going to Burundi. Why Burundi? Poorest country in the world by GDP per person. That doesn't mean people are starving because the country has availability if you wanted to fish, if you wanted to eat fruit. All of those things are there, available, you can have them. But what really is going to be their future is going to be these rare earth metals. So rare earths, REEs, and I'm really going to spend my time on magnetics. There's some other things we could cover. We could cover niobium, tantalum. There's 17. There's 7 called lights, and there's 10 heavies. And the ones I'm going to focus on are, number one, we're going to get to the very end, we're going to get to what America emphasizes a lot, which is lithium, and the other 10, which I think are even more significant given what we're going to cover. So why rare earths matter? It's about what they go into. If you have control of rare earths, you have control of smartphones, defense systems, wind turbines, and particularly MRIs, because of their applications with magnets, okay? So we're on that first page with the little wind turbines and the little car on the second page after my picture. The real one to me that matters the most is those defense systems. You can't have stealth planes. You can't have missile defense systems that lock on without rare earths. It's a function of magnetism to the laser. So therefore, if you have a hand in rare earths, now you have a hand in future technologies dealing with the destruction of countries, who has control of it. That's why that strategically matters. So, and I'm going to get into it a little bit later with China. I'm just touching on things and I'm keeping it light. Like I said, I'll hit that 15-minute mark and I'll ask any questions as we cover. No big rush about that whatsoever. But you need to understand rare earths are going into things that you're going to use. So if you have an interest in, come on up, guys. So that way you can have an actual place to put down because we've got plenty of space. And we'll get pretty informal because this is about what I expected. I didn't expect a big crowd for rare earths. This is not exactly a sexy topic. I didn't think for many people.
You make it sexy, Charles.
Great line. Okay. So U.S. companies like Apple are making moves to secure the REE domestic. So there's a couple of big discoveries. One is out in Nevada. There's another one in Wyoming. I think put together they run about $1.5 trillion worth of rare earths. But the problem is, well, not a problem. It's a good thing we have them. It's a good thing we discovered them. They're not the 10 heavies that I'm really going to get into. That's the 7 salts, and that's also about lithium supply. So most people go, oh, we solved our rare earth problems. No, not remotely. And you got to look at what these other ones are for. But securing those is a policy for a minority organization. That's the other question I had, and I just want to touch on it lightly before I move on to the next slide. I say slide, the next page. The issue is if you don't develop a policy for who secures it, how it's stored, how it's either enriched, mined, or the process of getting it to usefulness, then you're taking yourself out of the movement in the world for the next 100, if not 1,000 years. Why am I saying such a dramatic number? Because that's a pretty big number. You're going to need rare earths to go to the Mars. You're going to need rare earths to go to the moon. You're going to need rare earths to mine asteroids. It's a fact. And so this securing, and that people hear about Elon Musk talking about, oh, he just wants lithium batteries for his cars. At this point in time, I don't even think that has much to do with what he wants them for. I think it has to do with the geopositioning going into space. I'm not too heavy on it. I'm not an astrophysicist, but I'm just going to give you some light numbers. If we wanted to go to, let's say, I'm just picking a country, not Mars, I think it's Mars. What happens is they use fuel, and then all people do is coast till they get to where they want to go. Because there's not enough fuel that you can carry to get in. But if in rare earths, you could secure hydrogen, And there's certain gaseous planets in certain areas, but there's oceans of, literally an ocean the size of our oceans of liquid hydrogen. If you could do that and you could have a secure way station to refill, we can get to the outer reaches of our universe under our present technology. This is not some future technology, within weeks. If that begins to happen, all these asteroids, some of whom have, oh, I'm gonna come right to you. I'm gonna try. Okay, yeah. I'll come because that point is kind of important. Right now, people talk about how many months it is for human beings to go to a place like Venus or go to those places. And people are asking, why do we even want to go there? You got poverty and problems here. In particular, this is an organization addressing poverty and discrimination. If you don't even talk about an industry that's going to shape your future, you are ensuring being discriminated against because you don't know anything about how it works. And so you got to, but I'm going to answer your question, which is what I was talking about. Right now, if we want to go to space, what happens is they burn a lot of space to get beyond the gravitational pull. All they do is coast because they got to have enough fuel to get back. So that's why it takes so long. They're just coasting literally for months to get somewhere. If there's a way station to get at some of the hydrogen oceans that are in space, we already know they are, we've used lasers to check the density of it, then you could refuel based on hydrogen, come back. Now a trip that used to take months, it comes down to weeks. So once you get past those issues, but that's about geopositioning, that's about using lasers beyond, you're gonna have to have rare earths, and whoever discovers large deposits of rare earths outside of the earth is going to be a trillionaire. And that's not even a question. These are not fantasy numbers. This is right now technology to get there. So if you can get to the hydrogen and refuel, you're pretty short to controlling the world. And that's why when I say the world, actually, it's more like a galaxy type issue. That's why rare earths are so important, or at least I find the issue to be so important. This is about not self-excluding you from a technology. That's why it's so important to me that we cover this particular issue. So now I'm going on to the next slide, and we're just covering one thing right now, neodymium. So neodymium is very important. Discovered in 1936, richest rare earth deposit in the world is in Burundi. Now, why are we covering Burundi? Beyond being the poorest country, total disclosure, I represent them. Me and my brother are assigned foreign agents representing the country. I've been over there, so I have personal knowledge about what goes on in terms of the military structure of the country and what's happening. So it's not like it's just something I'm kind of picking out of the sky, but the fact that they're poorest by GDP and they have what I think is such an important resource, that's where I think the opportunities lie. I'm not talking about exploitation, and so I presented, as most of you know, my brother's a lawyer. So I had to present it in front of a lawyer about the negatives of my presentation. So one of the issues are you trying to talk about exploiting another group of the diaspora because of the intellect in this diaspora? No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about creating chains of command in a fair way and making sure you have availability. And that's what I'm talking about. And ladies, there's all seats with the actual presentations if you need them. If you still want to sit in the back, that's fine. Please, somebody pass them back to them so they can have them and so they can at least follow along. Because now we're going to get into Gakara. Why is Gakara so important? If I'm correct, and it changes on the website, and you can go check it today, Burundi's Gakara region is a no-go zone under the State Department. So the State Department is telling you, too dangerous to go. I'm not saying to go there. I am saying the place that you're being told not to go has one of the richest future resources that the whole world needs. So there's some aspects to that, and just to let everybody know, catching up, I'm on this presentation part right here. So we're 2 pages in. Produces bastonites and monazites, key minerals for niobium magnets. Now, why am I so fixated on magnets? Magnets are what you use to travel in trains over 400, 500 miles an hour. That's not some future issue. That's a right now thing. Because what keeps trains from going super fast is the friction. Friction gets too hot, steel to steel, steel swells, you got problems. If it's magnets that nothing touches, you can push it as fast as you want to. Well, let me back up, not as fast as you want to. But numbers of 300, 500 miles an hour are perfectly fine. That's why they're talking about using tubes, because if some deer is crossing it, it becomes a bullet. It might go through the thing, kill half the people on the train. So that's why I'm talking about tubes to protect some animal or even a bird. Just a quick show of hands. Everybody ever heard the term bird strike when you're flying? Yeah. So, and I've experienced it because I fly a lot. So a bird strike is kill people because it can take a plane down if it hits the right place. Now imagine you're on a train going along land, instead of hitting a bird, you hit a deer. Probably the first 4 sets of people inside that, they all dead because the bones inside that deer become bullets at 500 miles an hour. Not to try to get creepy with all of this, but you get my point. So that's why magnets are super important. Now, what major power doesn't have high-speed rail? The one you living in. That's why under Barack Obama, he was talking about us getting high-speed rail, because it changes money. And I'll give a specific example of what I think. I'm not speaking for anybody, I'm not speaking for policy. What made sense to me was Nashville, Huntsville, Alabama, Atlanta, down to Orlando. If you had a high-speed rail, you could live anywhere those places, go back and forth. And so you're literally talking about, I'm living outside Orlando, I get up in the morning, I take my 30-minute ride on a train to Atlanta, I work all day, I go back 30 minutes. Some of y'all spend an hour and a half in traffic right now anyway. So if you could do 30 minutes and live in Huntsville where the cost of living is low, you'd move there. What does that do? That disperses income and who's there. What does that affect? What our mission statement is about, which is alleviating poverty. So this stuff does connect definitely in. I promised that around the 15-minute mark I would stop and ask questions, and so I'm going to try and slow down right now. Any questions about what I've covered thus far? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Where else is the bassinet found out in the world?
Yeah, that's actually a real good question. Here's the problem. Yeah, it's a problem. Major deposits are in China. And so when China was receiving those tariffs, that's why they turned against us and were like, oh, you think that's cute, what you're doing? We're going to cut you off selling you rare earths. Because I know that's going to mess up your future growth economy, and it changes what I'm doing. That's why that was an issue. One of the other places where there's a major deposit that nobody really talks about, Afghanistan. Now, is it the exact one we're looking at right now? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying those major deposits exist. Now you got 2 new deposits in the United States. I don't believe they're the 10 heavies. And that's why I'm trying to get into heavy rare earths. And some of the other things I'm not covering, like niobium and tantalum, I could do a 3-hour speech on that one. And it doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter which one we pick. I'm just picking one because Gakara is an area that you can get access to, and the State Department is telling you, you shouldn't go there.
But they're going there.
Exactly. And we're going to get into exactly who's going there. Any other questions about that right now? Yes, ma'am.
So what does the model look like that prevents the exploitation? Because obviously,
ooh, that's a heavy one.
Make money. So how would we do differently than the other groups that are going in it?
Yeah, you hit that's the question right there. We're an organization, as our mission statement is not to exploit the poor. And I understand what you're saying. I also understand global pricing of labor. So, and you've had Americans who are very mean well go into other parts of the world and say, let's say something like, what's the name? Shea butter. Okay? Shea butter is natural. Any of y'all can go get it at a really cheap price and bring it back here where the price all of a sudden explodes. Are you going to pay somebody minimum wage United States? Let's cut it in half. Let's go $3 an hour. Well, I've been in countries where the average annual salary, I'm not talking monthly, I'm not talking weekly, annual salary is about $500. And I've been there. Now, people, Josephine, hold on, work with me a little bit now. What I'm saying is, when you're in those kind of areas, you're not just making money from your work. You typically have access to fruits, berries, you're hunting, and you're probably working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm cycling back, so I'm not trying to avoid your question. I know you're looking at me like, you're not getting that, brother. Hold on, give it to yeah, I got you. There would have to be a balancing upon what's appropriate to the economy without creating economic shocks to what's going on. So I don't think you can go into a place where people are making $500 a week and the older gentlemen who've established themselves in that community and all of a sudden 20-year-old kids are making 10 times, 100 times what the elders are making. I've seen it up close. Those kind of price shocks create all kind of chaos. I'm not saying exploit people. What I'm saying is you got to figure out a way to bring in partners. I don't have a modality for you today. Maybe they'll have me do that later on. I don't have a modality, but I will say this. I am sick, speaking for me, not SCLC, I'm sick and tired of people saying, oh, that's an exploitative industry. We shouldn't be in it. Like, everybody in here has leather goods, I'm sure, some type. Leather goods come out of Morocco. And I know because I was in, the Gab is a store that was a custom leather shop. I got some of the best lamb leather for like $150 jackets, custom cut to me. That's because the price of the goods coming out there were from prices that you would probably find exploitive. But we can't step away from that process and say, okay, we're gonna let other communities make the money because that's bad. That can't be the answer. So I know I'm hovering around your answer, I'm not trying to avoid per se, but I am saying, I think there are ways for you to be within those restrictions and maybe do something else. For instance, so let me give you some real solutions because that's what you asked for. Maybe your price is the same, but you use some of your profit margin to supply a doctor. Maybe your payment structure is the same, but if an employee works for 5 years straight, you pay for their kid to go to college if they go to an HBCU. There's ways to do other compensation without creating price shocks, which is a deferment. Now, you might ask, I do the work, I want the money, I'm not gonna do it anybody else that way. I get you. You didn't say that, I said it. That could be a situation, but I'm saying if you want to avoid the price shocks, there's ways to do it to raise your internal costs, make people love you, and you don't have to create problems. Now, do you want to go back to the company towns? And I'm going to get off it, but I'll hit it just real quick. The old company towns or mining towns in the Deep South where we buy everything, you buy your clothes here. Sometimes people didn't even get real money. They talked about that in the movie Sinners. You get tokens instead of dollars and you can only spend it at the company store. That absolutely used to have as a form of exploitation. Yeah, I got you. I understand that. But all I'm saying is, yeah, come on in, just have a seat and make sure you get a package. Just let you know. Don't worry about everybody. Everyone's good. We're on this page right now. So the short answer to your question is, I'm not giving you the best answer, but I think there's some alternative methods to get involved in that and get it done. And here's the other thing about it. Let's deal with the realities of it. If 10 people in here got involved in it, and I don't care where you do, I don't mean this group per se. I don't care where you put it in. You can put it in the business school, you can go to Morehouse, you can go to whatever. If 10 of you go over there to do it, 7 of you are gonna fail. That's just the nature of international development. And of the 3 who do well, they're probably gonna become wildly rich. And that's also a function of it, because the investment is so low. You know, I was in Zimbabwe when they were giving out, well, I say giving out, when those gold concessions were less than $10,000. Some of those gold concessions end up generating hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, not hundreds, tens of millions of dollars. That happens. For every one of those, there's an American on YouTube right now that you can go see, man, I went over there and they took all my money. Because you didn't speak to anybody, you didn't know what was going on. So I'm not creating a platform for those answers, but that's actually a brilliant question. Let me take one more so I can get back on track on time at 1:20. I know I saw another question. Brenda, did you have a question for me? No? Oh, I thought you did. All right, back on track. So mining started in 2017, Rainbow Rare Earths. Why is that important? Rainbow Rare Earths is not even a US company. It's a London company, but there's a lot of powerful Americans invested in it. I'm not saying that it's a negative. I'm just saying there's an investment of getting involved in it because it's such an important factor in terms of the growth in the future. So this company is particularly important, and then we're gonna go to the counteract to it, and maybe that's not the best way to put it, but at least a more Americanized version of what's going on and how it got support from the Biden administration and quite frankly, presently from the Trump administration. Because this is not about party, this is about your country being able to survive in the future. Every empire dies from the inside, that's my personal belief. If you look at the loss of the Kush Empire, Byzantine Empire, Roman Empire, all those jokers went down internally. They knew what the problems were, they didn't have the political fortitude to address it. They knew what was happening and it didn't matter. All right. Why is Gakar strategic? High grade ore means low extraction costs. In other words, the higher grade wherever you go something, the cheaper it is to make it into something you can sell. So I can put you right now, let's say in Alaska. You don't have the equipment to scrape the bottom of the ocean. in freezing temperatures. That's very specialized stuff. Can you make a living from it if you got the right? Of course you can. I mean, I'm not saying you can't, but you can have, it's called alluvial panmiling. Somebody bring you enough in this particular area that you can get pretty rich pretty fast. And those are just the facts. Because all this stuff is not buried deep in a hole 5 miles underground. And that's a part of what's going on. Located in the Ancole Belt, potential for additional REE finds. That's kind of important. One of the issues in India, and I think they've corrected it recently, you could mine there, and let's say you get a silver mining license. If you find gold, you don't have a right to extract a bit of it. You'd have to go back in. That is not a problem in Burundi. So if you go there looking for niobium and you come across a silver stain, it's your silver, you're good to go. And that's different from some other countries. Proximity to infrastructure. All right, why did I put that there? The light of something is you don't care about infrastructure. So if tomorrow anybody goes over there and you find rubies, who cares? You can put enough rubies in a purse to make you rich for generations. If you find a great find of coal, you need a train to get it out because it's heavy in order to get enough of it out to make some money. So infrastructure there has weak problems. In any country you're looking at, even if you have the greatest, somebody could be not lying to you all the way, sell you something great. It's exactly, they said it's worth this much in the ground. You go and buy it and you go, wow, it is. You get it tested, great. You own it. You're like, man, I got it for a third of the price, but you can't get it out. So I just want to be mindful of that no matter what your interests in this are. Understand 3 parts of the process. You need to know what you're doing to find it. You need to know what you're doing to refine it. You need to know what you're doing to get it out of there. And that's why a lot of people, that's why you hear about a lot of the mines of diamonds and other things. Nobody cares because I can put enough on a helicopter, rent a helicopter, put it on a helicopter and fly out. I'm as rich as I want to be. So, you know, diamonds, rubies, stuff like that. That's not what we're talking about. Now, some of this stuff is fairly expensive, but it's not platinum, it's not gold. But it is important to the infrastructure of the country. Okay. And by that country, I mean the United States. So I know I'm kind of moving between community, diaspora, and the United States. If I get a little wonky on that, y'all kind of pull me back in. It's not a problem. I wouldn't be upset about it. Let's go to the next level. So we're on China factor on the next page. Not only are they controlling their own supply, they're controlling other people's supply. That's what the issue is right now. That they're not just trying to control what they have, they're trying to control. Do you have one? Let me see. Yeah, I think I got one for you. Yeah, come on up, bro. It's all right. I want to make sure you know. I think I'm done, though. I think that's the last one I got. Any free ones sitting beside somebody? No? Okay, man. I didn't expect a packed house. I apologize. You got one? Got one. Great, great, great. So, United States government is going to have to help you in order to do what you need to do in terms of Burundi if you're going to affect the change. And the change doesn't necessarily mean you have to go there. Now, I suggest you go there just to kind of scout things out, but I suggest that for doing any business. Like I've heard people, I want to sell, I think they make great cheap sarongs in Senegal. Yeah, they do, in Dakar. Before I started selling them at the swap meet, I would actually go there and find out who's doing what and what the qualities are and those kind of things. But you can still get great stuff and bring it back. So that issue of partnerships and dealing with people, that applies to anything. So I don't think that that's very special about REEs, but it is in the fact of who's going to buy. Because a lot of people who want to buy, they're not going to buy gold. Like if you brought gold right here, Nugget, you can go, there's the guy with the website here in Atlanta. He buys anything, you walk in off, he just tested it, and I can't remember his name. This stuff, you're going to have to sell in enough that a real buyer knows you're going to keep bringing enough that fits my manufacturing needs. Because if you don't fit the manufacturing needs, they're not going to buy for you because they know you might be intermittent, you might have problems, you don't have security issues down. What do I mean by that? You can't go in, make a whole bunch of money, and you're not going to talk to anybody.
Right.
And there are people who believe that. That's crazy. You're not going to go into some place. I don't care where it is in the world. I mean, forget. People go, oh, you can't do business in Africa. Number one, let's get away from that kind of language. That makes no sense. Nobody in here says, oh, where did you go? I went to Europe. No, you went to a country. There's over 50 of them in Africa. At least learn 20. So if you're thinking about an area, at least know your area. So if you know Burundi, know Rwanda, know Tanzania, know Kenya, know Uganda, because you got to know where you got to get to a port to get the stuff out of it. I'm just saying, this is my personal pet peeve, so I won't stick on that. So United States policy in terms of how we handle these rare earths is crucially important. And once again, I want to say, we need to cover that. We as SCLC, we as a community, we as the diaspora, we as Americans. And you can pick any one of them that you want. I'm going to come back at the 20-minute mark and I'll hit you. You can hit any one of them that you want. And at the particular point in time, this is important to you, however way you classifying yourself. Because if somebody gets enough rare earths that they have the ability to go and extract outside of our planet, I know everybody's like, he's kind of going a little crazy with that. Nah, not really, because the technology isn't as far off as you think. Okay, so, and I can give an example of a technology I think most of us hadn't thought about 5 years ago. Policing with robots. I mean, we're getting there right now, real quick. You know, they're talking about using drones and things like that. And I'm not saying that as a negative or positive. I'm just saying the technology side, which is what I'm trying to focus on, so I won't go into tangential stuff, is about that. Excluding the notion of addressing poverty from addressing technology is not going to work. So however way you feel about it, you're going to have to be a part of it, or you're going to let the consequences fall. And that's just the facts. So that's what it is. All right, we're going to go on from China, and we're going to hit U.S. momentum. This deal has been in the paper as of July. The ones I've seen, I haven't seen a good article, just to let everybody know where I am. Just let everybody see where we are. This is just the next one. Yeah, with the little California. Why have that deal on there? Apple didn't buy MP materials. They wouldn't allow Apple to buy them. They basically told Apple, you're gonna pay me $500 million for what I find. So rare earths are so important. Once they showed they had the capability of getting them, they could get one of the most powerful companies in the world to give them a contract for more than their whole company's value, because they weren't going to give up the information technology. Do you understand why I think this is so important? It means if you have the extraction technology people, and there's a lot of good geologists around the world from the diaspora, a lot of them out of Africa, you don't have to sell your company. If you got the 5 or so right geologists and you got the right concession, you ain't got to sell anything to anybody. You tell them, you're going to pay me to get the equipment, to get it out of the ground, and get it to you. Because that's what they did. So that's a game changer in my opinion. So the partnerships about including recycling facilities in California, advanced magnet production in Texas, I'm just saying the momentum for the growth here is happening. And that might be the part of it that you want to fit in. Like somebody in here might tell me, well, I don't want to leave the country. You know, I don't want to, like, just something mild to me because I've already done it. I have my yellow fever shots. To go to that part of the world, you're going to have to get a yellow fever shot. So if you're already in the military, you already got them. If you had been in the military, because you only need it one time in your life. If you're one of these people like, why would I want yellow fever stuck in my body? Well, then this is not for you. This is not. There's little things like malaria that you got to deal with overseas. You don't want to deal with them, I get you. I'm not mad at you. This is not for you. Okay, so there's an on-the-ground component to what has to happen to speak about this. And side note, well, not even side note, also make sure that you check what the State Department says. This is just my general advisory, it has nothing to do with this presentation. If you're gonna go to a place that has a little bit of problems, tell the State Department where you're going. It's their job to keep you up on what the travel advisories are. Just get a local phone, a throwaway phone, and then you don't walk into a place where you might get cut to pieces, which happens all the time.
Or kidnapped.
I mean, there's a lot of places. I mean, the Japanese were getting warnings not to go to Baton Rouge because the guy who got shot trick-or-treating because the person was in the wrong neighborhood. So, you know, comparative danger to the United States, a lot of y'all sitting in this room are coming from the most dangerous Western cities in the world. Don't fool yourself. You're living in places 10 times dangerous than London, Berlin, da-da-da-da. And, speaking of some fact, Farine is here, a guest from Dubai. You can walk around Dubai at 2 o'clock in the morning with money taped to your back. Nothing's going to happen. I don't think you want to try that in any number of inner cities in the United States and think you're going to get very far. So I'm just saying, some of the danger that you hear about some of these places, yeah, they're dangerous. They're just not U.S. dangerous. Okay, so there's a difference. And also, just side note, just use your common sense. If you see a bunch of liquor stores and dogs walking around the neighborhood, you in the hood. I'm just being honest. Like, you see a bunch of broke down cars, you in a bad neighborhood. And that ain't, sometimes I see Americans going down in places, I'm like, what were you doing there? Clearly you were there buying drugs. Or at least that's my opinion. But anyway, not to pass judgment. I want to stay in line with what our new president has going, so I don't want to be judgmental. Going on to the next page. And we're going to stay here just for a second on this one, a little bit more than the rest, because I think this one is super important. How does the country you're going to fit into U.S. policy? If you don't care, that's fine. Understand, if you're doing some business with somebody that globally is hated by the United States, you're going to have problems. And there's some very specific examples of when Gaddafi was still alive, African diaspora was trying to work with him and him offering money and the State Department saying, you touch a dime of that money and there's gonna be H to pay. So understand, if you deal with somebody who's an enemy, you gotta know what's going on. If you're gonna deal with an overseas power that you've heard something bad about, you need to know what's called the OFAC list. Right now, you're dealing with some friend of yours who's Russian. You need to know, is that person on the OFAC list? And so I'm going to give you a phrase, OFAC. If you haven't heard the phrase, let me hit you, I'm going to come back to you. If you haven't heard the phrase, ignorance of the law is no excuse, it doesn't change because the law is sophisticated. So don't think that you're going to be able to get off with the whole notion of, oh, well, that's a really innocuous thing. I've never heard of somebody getting that. Well, they heard of you and they've locked you up. But going back to Keegan's question, OFAC is the banking list. So the person you can deal with can be perfectly legitimate. But if they're on that OFAC, I call it the knock list. If you're on that knock list and you do business with them and transfer money to them, it's like wiring credit card stolen money. Even if they're 100% legit in their country, don't think you're going to talk your way out of that OFAC list. That's kind of serious.
Charles, is there a difference in the way that they treat black folks internationally as opposed to the way they treat white Americans nationally in those states?
Who's the they?
When you were talking about Gaddafi and when folks went to Africa, I always found or thought that, or heard that, as long as black folks ain't claiming American when they go.
No, it's not that simple. It depends upon the politics of the moment. It depends upon where you're going, how they feel about you. I stupidly, and I'm going to cut this story a little short, I stupidly thought I could go to a place where there was a conflict between two groups not involving Americans, and because I was American, I was at SCLC, I could leave security, and I was going to go off, and none of y'all almost met me, other than people who knew me before 2010. And that was not a good day.
What country?
Just because the cameras are rolling, I'll talk to you about it afterwards. But it was not a good day. It was not a good day. And so you have to be aware of that. So going back to your question, are there places where being African-American are better for you? 110%. Are there places where it's a detriment? 110%. Are there places where it's bad to be black but okay to be African-American? Yes. So there's another rail. Is everybody in here looking African-American? In many countries, half of the people in here aren't. I don't know people looking at me like, yeah, Brooks, you ain't making it. No, you ain't making it either. Now, you might have thoughts in your head about how you perceive yourself, but you really ain't. And they know, because you walk different, move different, dress different, and most of you opening your mouths in places you shouldn't open your mouths. Like if you go in with a large group of your friends, hey girl, we're gonna go somewhere different. We're gonna go to blah, blah, blah. Hey, great, go to Morocco. Stay in the casinos. Because two hikers walked into the wrong part And I think those girls were hacked to pieces. I think they were from European countries, but it doesn't matter. Use your common sense, look some things up, and I'm not blaming victims. What I'm saying is, use your common sense to track out your places where you go. And you know places are different, and you know what dealing with being profiled. There's certain neighborhoods in London, you're gonna get pulled over if you rent a car. And there's a video of some guy going, you can't pull me over. Why can't they? American laws don't apply over there. There's tons of countries where you have to show your ID. Please don't be the moron who thinks you are gonna give them their laws in their country. And all of y'all can go to YouTube and see 100 different Americans, 100 different colors, shapes and sizes, telling people in foreign countries what their laws are. And they look at you funny before they beat the living crap out of you. And that's just real. So,
The State Department publishes the information about each country.
right. And I'm going to hold you off. You're right. And that's the list I was talking about. Yeah. That's the list. So there's a level for each country assigned. Every place is assigned. That's why America, when our number was going up in other countries because of how we were treating foreigners, that was an issue too. So it goes both ways. So I wanted to address that. But before I take more questions, because I know as it heads, I want to hit those questions again in 13 minutes. 13 minutes. No, actually, not even 13. I'm going to do 5 so that I can get through the last couple of pieces. So why are those resources important? It's the technology chain. Why do I have that in there? If you have a relationship with a lab or something else that needs this stuff, maybe they don't need it in the big numbers that I was talking about, right? So we all understand Apple needs it in numbers. It's in tons no matter what the thing is. That might not be true of a CDC lab. I'm making something up because I don't know. All I'm saying is if you can find a smaller recipient of it to distribute to, that makes it easy for you to get your foot in the door and kind of get things going, that makes a lot of sense to me. Everybody, but then they got to have a lot of trust that you can supply over and over and over again. And that's true of anything. Like, let's not act like this is something super special in that way. If I make gold chains, I expect you to give me gold every month. And the fact that you can go up and down, that doesn't help me, because I want to produce a certain number to hit my demand. That's true of every item and everybody producing an item, unless you're going to be the distributor directly into the public, and you're not with this. This isn't a gold coin. This isn't a silver coin. You can probably even go direct. If it was copper, these are rare earths, it's going to be a little different. Now, if you know somebody who knows how to take this into the kind of magnet form they need it, which I don't know, I've never met somebody, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who has a knowledge base, that would be helpful. I don't know that person, so I'm not speaking to what I don't know. So, covering that. All right. Potential U.S. actions. Actually, I can kind of hit something really interesting on this. Right now, the president of Burundi was made the head of the African Union. And that's the military side. There's a military aspect to some of this stuff. When I'm in certain countries, I get escorted with military if I have the right relationships. That's not some super brag or wow. No, that ain't it. If you have the right conversations with the right people and you know how to talk to an embassy, you can get this stuff too. And it depends on what you're offering. And you might offer something different. And I'm not trying to put somebody on the spot here, but there's somebody in here who could definitely help somebody's tourism. So if you can change it, then you can change things and you can go places maybe everybody else here can't go, right? So that's part of what can be changed. So provide financing, technical assistance, modernize extraction. Okay, that's heavy lifting, because I know the real question is, okay, who's giving me the money? I don't know. I'm not telling you I know. I'm saying I understand that sometimes people bootleg that kind of technology. What do I mean by that? Is extraction that you need some special item, or do you need a backhoe? I'm not telling you because I don't know where you're going to go and what you're going to do. Are these, my focus on Burundi mean this is the only place that's rare earths? No. There's a lot of different parts of the world that haven't even been checked. Like Choco, Colombia is a predominantly black province in Colombia. I don't think anybody's ever checked there because of past problems that we know with the country, okay? So maybe it's there. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying If you understand extraction and you have some version of what you're gonna do with that, that can be fantastic. Hold on. 140. I'm sorry, Kevin. Did I answer anything about your question? Because I was kind of moving.
We've had to ask about the.
OFAC?
The wording, what the acronym stood for.
Oh. Man, I need somebody on their phone to put OFAC in there because actually I do not know.
Foreign, some access to currency.
Currency or corruption? Okay, it's currency. It's probably currency. But anyway, it's about money transfers.
Yeah.
Mr. Baker.
Yes, sir. I mean, you mentioned earlier about extraction of the rare earth and trying to get into the port. So you have to have relationships throughout the surrounding counties.
No. You're right. You don't. No. You're right. I mean, they might not call it counties. In some parts of the world, it's a prefecture. Some places it's a province. But it's you're on point. What he's asking about is staggered relationships. One of the reasons why people go to China to do business, once you get a contract, if a mail messes your contract, he's in real trouble. There are other countries, and it's not necessarily Africa. This problem pops up in India as well. You go to the governor, then the county chairman got to get his, and the mayor, and the local lot, and the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if you're in a place that doesn't, the term is used streamlining, you can have problems. That's one of the reasons why people like to do business in Rwanda. It's very good for moving you from license to doing at an incredibly fast rate. So the short answer to your question, William, is yeah, you can run into those problems in those countries. I think you need to top down, and it would be nice if people moved in a cluster. I think it makes it easy. What do I mean by that? People church group for everything. Like, I know a lot of church groups go to Israel because of all of that. Well, y'all can go to Uganda. That's supposed to be where Eden came from. Y'all can go there too and make that into a part of your church group. And then when you're there, look at other stuff. That's also a very resource-rich country. I don't speak of it because I've never been there. I'm only speaking of places I've been, personal, so that you can understand what I think the problems are. And also, that's a very advanced country. So if anybody thinks Uganda is a backwards country, you've never seen a videotape. And in today's world, you don't even have to visit or listen to what I say. All you got to do is put in Kuala Lumpur Airport. Oh, wow, that airport looks very modern. And if the airport looks like, it's a little rough, that should tell you a lot. There's almost day in the life vlogs for every country. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, DRC, which is Democratic Republic of Congo, Angola. It doesn't really matter. Somebody has gone there. And some people have gone there thinking one thing and then they found out another. The case I'm thinking about right now is the kid from China who said everybody loves China because China's not the United States. And I think he went through Afghanistan, was it? Or maybe it was Lebanon. Anyway, they got mugged. Like what, you're gonna wave a Chinese flag and you're not gonna get mugged? That doesn't even make any sense. But anyway, they were young kids, they didn't know any better. And my point is, use some common sense. So some of these stuff you see on people, man, you can't go here. Crime happens here. Come on. Oh, I know somebody who da-da-da. Number one, they were in a nice high-end hotel and the cops dragged them out. Yeah, was the room full of cocaine? That might be the reason. People acting like this stuff just floats out the sky. And I've traveled and, I've yet to go into a hotel, I've yet to go into a high-end hotel overseas. And if I was there for more than 4 days, there wasn't at least one drug dealer in that hotel. And I don't think that's any different than all the major hotels here, whether you're in Atlanta, in DC, go to the Mayflower, go to a 5-star, go to a 3-star. It's depending on what you're looking for. And if you know what you're looking for, you can find it. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So I'm just saying, don't assign that to Africa or assign that to poor countries. Let's just keep those kind of discriminatory thoughts out of our heads because, number one, they're not going to help you because they're just not true. Okay. I'm at conclusion. I'm still going to have time to take a lot of questions because I got 15 minutes, so let me wrap it up with this 5. Strategic win-win. Oh, and one of the things I want to bring about Burundi. Burundi is our partner for the 5 BRICS program that you've seen that outside for. Those 5 BRICS are the coffee that comes out of Burundi. So as an SCLC person, we have a built-in relationship with them. 5 BRICS is really simple. We're trying to put together a program through their distribution model that we can pay for the first 5 bags of coffee. You give them away to kids who trying to make money. If they can sell them, they get into the same income stream. We're not reinventing the wheel. This is from the Water Boys program. People here in Atlanta know who the Water Boys were. And it was kids who was trying to make money. They decided to buy big packs of water, selling them $5. News started coming to the fact that kids holding money like this. All of a sudden they realized those kids were getting rich without being taxed. All of a sudden it was an issue. Yeah, that's what that's about. So right, and so that's the issue, and they were getting rich real fast off water on hot days. So I think the city should have handled it a different way. That's not my presentation. So, but hold on, I'm going to wrap up, and then I'm going to take questions. Partnerships, reduce dependence on China. I'm just speaking to you as U.S. citizens. Strengthen global competitiveness. That's for the fact that if you want the diaspora to be able to speak to issues for the diaspora, they have to have bigger platforms. For those of you who are speaking about this, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. There's too many hustlers, these Pan-Africanists on TV. I know they ain't never been anywhere based upon what they said. And y'all know they ain't said nothing. They just hustling you out your money. A ton of people speak to what's real. Was the Ghanaian program to promote welcome home for African Americans, was it 100% of success? No. Was some of it African Americans' fault? Yes. He did not mean for you to go to Ghana unemployed and get on unemployment in Ghana. That makes no sense. They expected you to generate money when you got there. And for people who went there with pensions, a small pension like $2,000 a month, $2,500, they living like kings. But you can do that, go to Thailand. You can do that, go to other places in the world. However, if you go to those places, don't go there with sophisticated healthcare issues and think you're going to get it taken care of there and then blame the country. And I've seen people say that. There's a lot of European countries with horrible healthcare. Go there if you want to with the wrong kind of broken leg, they're just going to amputate and cut it off. And I've been in those places. And those places people go, and nobody says anything about those Eastern European countries. So, get out of here with that African stuff. I went to Africa, and da-da-da-da happened. Okay, somebody went to Chicago and something happened. Cut that crap out. Okay, lastly, promote African development and U.S. influence. I'm going to get away from rare earths real quick to make sure that I'm wrapping up on time. But look, promoting it can be anything. So if this whole rare earth thing you found boring or useless or all that stuff, okay, that's fine. If you've been to West Africa, or I know my friend from Nigeria, hey, that's wonderful. But please don't be the person who tells me, oh, I don't travel anymore. I went to Africa to start a business. Who did you know there? No one. Who did you talk to before you leave? No one. Did you talk to the State Department? Nobody. How are you going to get it out? I don't know. They tried to hit me with a whole bunch of money. Is that the VAT, value-added tax? Oh, I don't know nothing about that. They put something on there. Come on, let's go with some common sense on some of this. So am I expecting all y'all to get into it? No, I do want you to think about it and think about what rare earths means, as I said before, to everybody in this room individually, everybody who's a member of the diaspora as a group, supportive of the diaspora, supportive of being an American, supportive of being a global citizen. Because if we sit back and do nothing and let some of these other countries, in particular I'm talking about China, but they're not the only one, who's trying to get in the mix in terms of what's going on. I mean, we struck Canada's hand. Canada is a mining country. I don't know what that's going to mean, but I could do a whole presentation on that. Anyway, I want to be able to answer any questions. I covered quite a lot. Thank y'all so much. We got 10 minutes for questions. Yes, sir. I'm gonna go boom, boom, boom.
I got a grandson that's in Ile Ife, Nigeria.
He's in what?
Ile Ife, Nigeria.
Is that interior, south, or north?
He's building compounds over there.
Yeah, where? North or south? Where is it?
Nigeria is,
No, where is it in Nigeria?
he's in Ile Ife, Nigeria.
Right. Is it in the north or the south?
I can't tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, but he's building compounds over there. He's already completed one and working on 3 more. But I learned through research, because he's over there, that Nigeria is a very poor country. What about the mining resources that's in the area of Nigeria?
Well, before we say poor country, it's a country with a bad distribution of wealth. And I understand what you're saying by GDP and by the number of poor people. Let me just finish. There's a monstrous amount of poor people. You got a monstrous amount of poor people in India. You got a monstrous amount of poor people in a lot of other countries where the distribution model of wealth is bad because they've killed the middle class. And if we're not careful, the issue you're speaking to, which I'm not disagreeing with you at all, it can affect here, this country. I want to give ups to Josephine because those scholarships that she worked so hard for in the DC area are about replenishing a black middle class. And that doesn't mean college per se. But if it's not going to be, you need to have a specialty that's used. I'll give 3 examples and then I'll move on. You don't need a college degree to become a pilot. Most of your pilots flying around do not have a college degree. Probably maybe, I think 10, 15% of them. But you do have to be good at flying a plane. The guys who work on docks make up to $200,000 a year. Most of those guys never seen the inside of college, don't need to in order to do the work. I'm not complaining, I'm just telling you what they are. Another one is underwater welding. Underwater welders making $200,000. And power linemen, to see you guys who you see positioning, once they're 10 years in, sometimes they make upwards to $300,000 a year. As a matter of fact, Kevin just left. Kevin helped change the numbers of African Americans in that space, nationally. So sometimes people tell me, what has SCLC done? What are you paying attention to? But I'll come back to that. I'm sorry, I had a question right there, and then I'm gonna come back to you, Rob. I thought I did. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rob.
I just want to yield to, that's his question answered, sir.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, what's the question?
the question was, what products have been generated in mining in Nigeria that would be beneficial or in line with what you're talking about today?
Oh, shoot, I can't even cover them all, but I'll give you a few. They have petroleum, they got gas, they got clays, they got phosphates. I don't think niobium, I don't think tantalum, not to rare earths. They're not known for rare earths, but they do in the mining part of your question, because it's 2 parts. You said the mining and to what I'm talking about. To the part of rare earths, I don't think that they're a big rare earth player, but they are a big mining player. And sometimes people act like clays you can't make money from. If you have high quality clays and you can get it to a port, you can become a multimillionaire. It's really that simple. And high-end clays are useful. I gave you your ups, you were gone, so I'm gonna give them to Kevin one more time, that Kevin helped make sure that the number of African-American power linemen in this country changed. And people know what he did in North Carolina, but y'all can mob him about that after that. That's his cross to bear. Dealing with William?
Yes, sir. Are there any raw earth opportunities in the United States?
Yes.
You know of?
Yes, the 2 biggest, the 2 biggest.
So how can we get involved, but you have a mechanism or process to participate in that?
Yeah, I don't have a mechanism at all. The guys who own it are the new one that was found last year. That's in that Nevada quarter. That's lithium. And then there was one that was found this year, and I think MP Earths, when I was talking about the Apple product, I think they're in on the contract for that one. It's either Wyoming or Idaho, but if you look up rare earths in the United States, new discoveries, those 2 big deposits, but I'm almost positive, don't hold me to it, I'm almost positive both those deposits are dealing with lithium. And that's about lithium batteries, which is fantastic. I was actually covering magnets, but lithium batteries is a necessary need, but people act like lithium and rare earths are the same thing. It's not even remotely. Yeah, it's not even close to being the same thing. And if you excluding only go, okay, this is all of, rare earths all about car batteries. That's 100% not true. It's a dangerous thought for it to be put out like that. And you can't rely on the media on it, not because they're lying to you. I don't think they know. I don't think they know. I don't think that they're trying to hide anything from anybody. They don't know, and so you're getting bad information about them. You're gonna have to dig a little deeper about what is and what isn't. But what I do wanna say is we have to continue these discussions because the exclusion and the opportunities are gonna be open. In other words, if right now you wanna get in the business of selling Coca-Cola, why can't you? All the distribution chains have been bought up and been sitting there for decades. If you want to get in rare earths, can you? Of course you can. Distribution chains don't even exist. So you're not trying to take something for what somebody has who's white. You can establish your own, and it doesn't have to come back here. Like if you start selling a bunch of rare earths to, I don't know, Italy gonna pay for them. And if you move enough, somebody in America is gonna be like, hey, I heard you the guy who, or the lady who sells to, I don't know, Mauritius. It doesn't matter. Once you're in the chain, it's going to be a part of it. And all I'm suggesting is, because one of the earliest questions I think you asked me about is how to become a part of what you want to do. I think the first thing is take a trip where you just want to relax. And a lot of people tell me, well, man, I don't want to go to Africa. That costs too much money. Get out of here. A weekend in New York costs more than a week in Johannesburg. I know for a fact. Yeah, Manhattan is, those prices are crazy. Yeah, unless you're gonna go to, I think Luanda is the most expensive city in Africa. Now those prices are crazy. But right now they're in the middle of a riot. So if you're going there, you're a little slow. You shouldn't be going there.
Charles, are the rare earth finds in the United States, in Nevada and Wyoming, do they go through reservations, and is the government trying to take those reservations back?
Ooh, that's a wildly deep, good question that I don't have an answer to. But I'll say this. When we laid the pipeline, I forgot the name of the pipeline that they made a big deal about during the Trump administration. The issue wasn't where that pipeline was going at first. That pipeline was going through a suburban neighborhood. It was then rerouted over reservation land. That's why there was a fight. But the way the press covered it, it's like, man, they don't want us to build this pipeline. They never said that. They said use the original order where you're going to take the thing the first time.
Where I see it at in my space, in valuation, they don't pay the fees to go across those spots for the right of way.
Yeah, and a lot of it is because
The fees, it was like, those pipelines were literally like exploding and releasing out. And the suburban white community that protested was able to get it moved. But what we saw on the news was
right. So the question wasn't who didn't want it. It was like, it was funny. The first protest was protecting a good neighborhood. The next protest was, why are you trying to stop the economic development of America? And it just got recast in a wildly different direction. And it's now 1:57. Unless I have more questions, I'm going to wrap. Pam. The first investment, I think, is the trip investment. In other words, and I'm not saying Burundi, going to rural Burundi. There are other places where you can have a conversation about it and also go to a nice place. By that I mean there's issues with going to, like Kigali. I've been in Kigali's airport. Man, Rwanda is an incredible place to go. Super safe, very low rate, cleanest country I've been in. I've been in a bunch of European countries that are just dirty as all get out. Rwanda's super clean. They made sure that clean country spotless. But anyway, back to your point. Your first step, I think, is your trip, not your investment component. Like if you're getting your money together, what am I actually trying to do and go here? And before that, set up your trip. There's usually a chamber of commerce in all of these countries. So it's not like you got to go in blind, and you go in there, and you know what you might get in there, get on the ground, and then you find there's 5, 6 different people you got to pay licenses to do something small. And you're like, well, that ain't worth it to me. Okay, now go see the lions, whatever. And it didn't work. But don't go in there with money in hand, throwing around. And a lot of Americans and African Americans do that. And I've had one African person tell me, don't come in here kissing the ground, my brother, I don't want to hear that. How am I going to make money? And that's directly from an African telling me that. Where's my profit margin?
It was probably my favorite.
Will you or the SCLC provide a list of possible recommendations on what we could do and where we should be? And what do you see? I think is very interesting. But as us being forward-thinking, trying to play offense as opposed to defense, if we could help shape some of those strategies on where we should be focused at. Because I think that's primary, I think secondary to food security and food sovereignty, and I think we can do both at the same time.
We can definitely do both. And I'm gonna let you know, somebody last night was like, look, we need to have a chapter, if not a presence, in Dubai. Why? That's the financial transactional capital for a lot of Africa.
I'll volunteer.
I got you. But I'm just saying, that's a very safe place. That's a very nice place. And then we can set up with a group. Let's meet with the bankers. Let's meet with what comes up. Because I've walked through the diamond and gold district of Dubai. Now, it was 120 some odd degrees.
Are you able to speak to, like the infrastructure building of using like oil and gas gas and the trade lines and the lack thereof.
Yeah. I can't. Let me see. Am I keeping the mic? Am I there? Okay, I'll be real quick. Yeah. One of the things that somebody was trying to get me to talk to was Dangote. And Dangote was the guy, not him personally, I'm talking about his organization, obviously. I wasn't picking up the phone talking to some guy that worked $48 billion. But Dangote is the one who's doing the processing there. I think, excuse me, I think in terms of getting in contact with people from the processing side of this, we need to both hit it two different ways. A, who are the geologists and the intellectual knowledge bases that we have here? And I believe it's in your backyard. If it's not at Prairie View and Texas A&M, it's 1,000% at the University of Houston, 100%, because you're at the epicenter of natural resource extraction for the whole United States. You can go to Harvard all you want to. You don't have the people at Harvard that you got down in Austin.
Right.
Those guys know more because they're subject matter experts in extraction of anything. And that's why they move the way they move. So sometimes people always tell me, oh, like, let's talk to the Yale, Harvard, Stanford. I was like, well, what are we talking about? Like, what's the item? Because there's certain places that have certain subject matter, and to me, you're in the subject matter jurisdiction that probably matters the most. Texas, a bunch of guys have drilled dry holes and they don't care. They'll drill 5 dry holes at $1 million a pop because they know number 6 makes 500 million. So those guys are a lot better to work with if you'll work with them. And oh, by the way, the group that was in Andarko who got the gas concession in Mozambique, when they used to have their board before they took it off the website, there was 2 black guys on there. One of them was a running back for Oklahoma State. I think, I want to say that's what he was. All right, I don't want to take up too much more of Kiva's time. Thank y'all so much.